Hey, so in this video, I'm going to share with you possibly one of the most critical, one of the most important, one of the principles of success that I believe has been the one that has impacted me the most, that has helped me the most in various areas of my life. And so to do that, I'm going to actually be doing a little book summary of this book, Think and Grow Rich, only of chapter 2, chapter on desire, which is titled here as Desire Being the Beginning of All Achievement. So let's get right to it. And so here's basically where I want to start. And, with just about any programs where I coach, people, whether it's entrepreneurship or health, I like to help people figure out, where are you at right now, and what is it that you're looking to achieve, right? Like, what's your goal? What's like that one problem that you want to solve? And it's important that you get here. Now, here's the thing about desire, right? There's a difference that I think needs to be understood and made clear that, wherever it is that you're at now, you may want to achieve something, right? Now, there's a lot of people who are living lives where they're not where they want to be and they want something better, they want something different, for their lives, but they don't really desire that outcome. There's a difference between hope, wishing for something, and hope and desire. And that's what this summary is about. I'm going to do my best to, um, you know, explain or basically illustrate what the difference is between, hoping and wishing for a goal, for something to happen in the future, and desire. So I want to start out by basically telling you, a story. And like I said, one thing that I want to point out is, with this book, even though the name of this book is Think and Grow Rich, this book is really about achieving, and it's for all areas of life. So even though a lot of people use it for business and finances because of the title Think and Grow Rich, you can really name this book Think and Grow Muscles, or Think and Get Energy, or Think and find a partner, like either a business partner or a partner for life, like your better half type of deal. Anything that you want to achieve, right? And so for this video, I'm going to focus a little bit more on the health side, since that's what we are, that's what we're dealing with at the time right now. And I'm going to go back to when, one of my transformations that happened, years ago. But basically back in, circa 2012 or so, I was basically living a life where I was essentially stuck in a couch. Not because I was lazy, not because I enjoyed napping all the time, but because I had, a health condition that was causing me extreme fatigue, where I just couldn't even get, out of the couch. Like, I didn't have energy to do simple daily tasks like just doing dishes or anything like that. And so me laying here, I had this desire to live a different life. I had a desire to live, really a more active, lifestyle, where I saw myself climbing mountains, right? I didn't want to just lay on the couch and that be the rest of my life. I wanted to, I enjoy being active. Like, I like hiking, I like snowboarding, paddleboarding. I like to just, travel and do, active type of things. Well, I had to go from, sitting here and hoping and wishing, for a day that I would have energy, enough energy to do something like that. And I basically learned to turn that into desire, and that's how I got to my transformation. And so I want to talk about, the difference here between hoping and wishing and a desire, and how in hopefully by the end of this you're going to understand how having that desire is really, really going to be the key towards getting closer to that goal that you're looking to achieve. So there's basically four key things, right? So I'm going to be looking at notes here that I have, but the first thing is the difference between desire and hoping and wishing is that desire is a definite. It is specific, right? Number two is the difference between having a desire for something, versus hoping and wishing, is that desire is basically a dominating thought, meaning you just can't stop thinking about it. Like, people that hope and wish, they only hope and wish when people ask them, like, hey, what are you looking for? What do you want? Then they'll think about it. Someone with a desire cannot stop thinking about it, cannot stop talking about it. Like, it's almost like that thought just consumes their life. And again, it's definite, it's specific. You got to know exactly what you want. It's got to be a dominating thought. And then third, once you get to that point where that desire starts to like burn because it's dominating your thinking so much, that's when you are able to basically take all of your energy and focus and direct it towards that desire. And last but not least, that's when you get to a point where you realize that there's no such thing as failure, right? Because as long as you're taking one step in the right direction, you're going to learn something, and you're going to basically grow and just get closer to that goal. And again, someone that just wishes for something or hopes that something happens, the moment they encounter some sort of setback, some sort of struggle, some sort of temporary defeat, I guess we'll call it, they just basically quit. They say, oh, this doesn't work. Whereas someone who has a burning desire, they may encounter the same struggles, the same fears, the same setbacks, but they keep going no matter what, right? So I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit later. But here's the thing about all this and how you're going to apply it. Number one, let me talk about how you turn this into a dominating thought. And I think that in order for this to really, really, really get through, I guess is really the word that I'm looking through to say, is the difference between hope and wish and desire. Like, the biggest difference, like I said, with specific, it's a dominating thought, and it's only when it's that one, right? It's the one thing. It's like you want nothing more than this one thing, right? So when I ask people, hey, what's like the one problem that you want to solve the most, right? So in my case, like at the time, I wanted to get my energy back, right? There was nothing I wanted more than anything else, because at the time I wasn't able to work my business, I wasn't able to have fun, I wasn't able to do anything. And so, I mean, with my health, my transformation, I lost weight, I got, I had brain fog, and I got my, clear, sharp, focus, thinking back. My hair was falling off, my nails were brittle, my skin was dry. My hair, my nails are growing fine, my skin's back to normal. But the one thing that I wanted more than anything else was energy, right? All the other things came to me as a byproduct, but really energy was like that one thing that I wanted. So you may have a variety of goals where whether it's business or health, where you say, hey, I'm gonna get to that point, and this is gonna happen, and that's gonna happen. You may have a variety of like results that you may be expecting from all of this, but again, you gotta have like one thing that is like the one that is just, that's going to be the driver, really. Like this is going to be like the one thing, and this is what I help people figure out, because everyone has different different things, I guess, that's going to really drive them. But again, this is how you turn desire into, or this is how you take hope and wish. When you start to make it specific, that's how it starts to turn into desire. when that starts to become your dominating thought, that's how it starts to turn to desire. Let's talk about. I'm gonna actually come back to this one here in a second, but let's talk about all of your energy and focus. Here's how you know that you've found that one thing, and it is basically this word right here, decide. And this word decide, when you make a decision, right? Once you find that one thing and you make that decision that, hey, this is it, like this is where I'm going, like this is what's going to happen, this is exactly what I am going to get. Once you get to the point where you just believe that that's what you're going to receive, that's when you know you've made that decision. Now, deciding is not something that you just, say for example, like I wasn't laying on the couch and I said, oh, I just decided that I'm going to get my energy back, and my energy came to me. No, that's not how it happened, but the decision was made while I was there in that situation. And here's what that decision looks like. If you break up this word, decide, the root word of decide is side, which you see in words like suicide, pesticide, genocide, herbicide, which basically means to kill off, to cut out, or basically to eliminate any and all other options. So once you get to the point where you say, this is exactly what I want, right? I want my energy back. That's when all of a sudden, for example, I know that there are things that I need to do in my diet to change. But then I have friends calling me on Friday. It's like, hey, do you want to go grab a beer? And I know that, hey, that's not going to help me towards that. And I've already decided that I'm going to get my energy back. Since that's not helping me, I am going to stick to my plan. So that's not going to deter me. Now I am focused. All my energy and focus is going on to that one thing that I want. And that's why I'm throwing this word decide out there. And that's why I need you to really, really understand the word desire. And that's the difference between someone who, I wish I get more energy. Friends calls them up, hey, you want to get together, we're going to go drink, we're going to go eat all this bad food that's probably not going to help you with your energy. They're not saying that directly, but that's what's happening. And someone who hasn't made that decision that that's what they want, they're going to say, yeah, I'll make it out, right? All their energy and focus is scattered, right? It's not directed towards one thing. So that's why it's important to get clear, get very specific on what this one thing is. I'm going to help you turn that into a dominating thought. And once you make that, once you decide that that's what you want, you basically eliminate any and all other options, anything that doesn't help you get towards that. And that's how you start to put all of your energy and focus towards the thing that you want. So, in summary, this is what chapter 2 of this book is about, desire. So now let me move on to the application of this, how we're going to actually take this understanding, which, I hope that, so far, I hope that this has been, I hope that this has been just a powerful lesson. I really, really hope that this serves you the way that it has served me. There's a reason why I want to share this, like this best as I can right now. But I want to take this to the next level. I want to take it to the next step. Like, how do you actually take this information and apply it so that you can actually see some results from it? Well, there's essentially 6 steps that they talk about here. So I'm going to have to delete this. And so here's the thing. So once you've decided, right? So here's the 6 steps. And they're outlined here on, in chapter 2. So I highly recommend you pick up this book, by the way. The first one, like I said, is you got to define, what's your goal, right? Whether it's, in business, what's like the goal, like I'm giving the analogy here of me being on a couch, laying down, and my goal was to be able to, hike this mountain, right? So what is the one thing that you want? You want to be able to define that and be specific. Now, in business, this can be easy because sometimes people, okay, they want to take their business to a new height, which for them it could be a number, right? Like, hey, I want to make 6 figures, I want to make 7 figures, or whatever that is. It's got to be specific. And one thing that I teach in that group is that, hey, it's one thing to say that you want $1 million, but once you figure out why you want that $1 million, say for example you're looking to buy a house, well, we go look at a house and say the house is only worth $465,000. You don't need $1 million, you only need $465,000, and all of a sudden you have a more concrete, more achievable, number and reason, more specific, because you know exactly why you need the exact amount that you're asking for. Now, in my case of energy, this wasn't exactly as easy to measure, so I'm going to give you a couple different tips to make sure that whatever it is that you're looking for, really when I say you got to define and make it specific, what I'm talking about here, when it comes to desire, is you got to have a clear picture of what the outcome is going to look like. And so in my case, like I said, because of my health issues, one of the things that I had was my vitamin D levels were low. They were about 22 nanograms per deciliter. And I knew that if I was able to get this number from 22 to 55, I was going to get my energy back. But I still didn't really have a way to measure it. So I just kind of, like, in my mind, I said, okay, laying here on the couch, my energy level is 0. I have extreme fatigue. I can't move even if I wanted to. But I know that once I get to climb a mountain, and especially if I get to do obstacle course races, OCR races like Tough Mudder, Spartan races and stuff like that, I know my energy is going to be at a level 10, and that's where I want to get. And so I had this vision, I had this idea of what I was going to do with that energy. And that's how, once you have that picture, once you know not only what you want, but also why, what's this picture going to look like? Okay, that's the one thing that, if there's nothing else you focus on, that's one thing out of this video that you should really get clear on, is what does that picture look like for you. Then number 2, it is, you got to pay the price. What is the one thing that you plan on giving in return? Okay, we're not going to just sit here and imagine this future and it's going to come to us without us doing anything. There's something that you have to do and give in return. And so, for my health transformation, for example, the one thing that I chose, that I said, you know what, this is the one thing that I'm going to do no matter what. Like, I'm not going to break this promise, and I haven't since 2012. And it's the reason why I believe I've been able to maintain my energy levels, why I've been able to achieve the results that I've been able to achieve in my health. It's intermittent fasting. Right, I started with intermittent fasting, right, and if you've seen some of my other videos, at the time I was going through a lot of financial struggles. I was practically going through bankruptcy. Didn't file for bankruptcy, but I pretty much, all I needed to do was sign the paperwork. Everything was filled out. I just chose another route and avenue. But either way, I chose intermittent fasting because it didn't cost me money. It didn't really take up time. If anything, it saved me money and it saved me time. So it was just perfect. And so I just knew that that was something that I could do every day, no matter what. And for me, understanding that, if there's one thing that you can choose to do every day. See, my idea here with desire, what I wish people would do, is to know that you can take a quantum leap forward and achieve your goal much faster than you think is possible. However, you can't really do that unless you have, unless you really believe that it can happen. And so in order for that belief to really build up, what really you're doing is you're increasing your desire, right? And that's what we're going through here in these steps that I'm talking about right now. But really, this is essentially how you take hope or wish. If you're wishing for something, this is how it starts to turn into desire. When you start to take one little step forward in the direction of your goal, every step that you take, it's almost like, hey, you're here, you look back and you realize, you know what, I've done this. Let's say you get to step 3 and then you fall back. Well, it's easier for you to go all the way to step 3 because you already know that you can do it, right? And before you know it, one step at a time, you can get to your goal. And even if you get to your goal now, so you have a big setback that brings you right back to where you were at, you can spring right back up because you've done it before. You already have the belief, right? The desire has already been in you, and your desire may have dropped, but you're going to know exactly how to get it back. And it's by doing what I am basically going to finish here. So number 3 is you got to have a time frame, right? And by the way, just to go back here on this step, I coach people in for business, entrepreneurs, and also in health. And you're going to notice that one of the things that I like to do for people is help them take one step forward, right? So it can be, hey, did you get this supplement? Cool. Did you do intermittent fasting? Cool. Did you do this one action? Like, I try to get people to take one action step and then just help them move forward a little bit at a time. And before they know it, they look back and they say, oh, wow, I didn't realize that I could do that, right? And now all of a sudden, they start looking at their goal with bigger eyes, with a bigger smile, because they start to see it, they start to feel results, they start to actually believe that they are moving forward in the right direction. So that's why I think that's important for me to throw that. And with time frame, I'm not going to go too much into that detail, but ideally you want to know how long is it going to take you to go through this journey, right? Now, depending on your goal, depending whether you're dealing with business or health or whatever condition it is that you're whatever it is that you're trying to achieve, you may not know fully how long the journey is going to take, and that's okay. If you don't know the time frame for the full journey, go with what's the next step, right? So for me, I'd start with people like, hey, if you can do 30 days of intermittent fasting, right? I have people get green juice, do intermittent fasting for 30 days. That is enough momentum for people to start moving in the direction and start seeing results, right? And I know that, hey, in 30 days, here's more or less what you can expect, and then you can decide, do I take a different approach, or do I continue doing what I'm doing right now? The outcome is not going to change. The strategy, the plan, that may change, but you're still going to be after the one thing that you want the most, and you want to know how long is it going to take for you to complete the next step that's going to take you to the bigger step until you finish the journey. So number 4, we're going to what you need is a plan, right? So me personally, for the people that I coach, I just practically give people my plan and they're able to take it, adapt it, modify it, or whatever. This, in a way, is kind of like my plan. It's kind of like what I have used, for different areas of my life. It's this process right here that I'm sharing with you. And I like that this book points out something very important, is that you must take action now, right? In the past, I've shared a lot of information with people, and a few years later, I still hear people like, hey, I've learned a lot from you, but I still have yet to apply any of it. And they're still where they're at. Why? Because nothing happens until you start taking action. And so I like that he points that out in that book. Like, by the way, chapter 2 has so many lessons. I'm really just giving you we're practically done. You're just consuming the meat here and just spitting out the bones, everything else. But there's a lot of good lessons to be learned, some of which I may cover in a future video. But anyways, like I said, I highly recommend that you just pick up and read that book. Number 5, we're gonna write this out, right? So we're practically going to take these 4 steps right here, and we're gonna write it out. We're going to write out a clear, concise statement one sentence, two sentences, maybe three sentences at most. But basically, what is it that you want? What is it, the one thing that you plan on doing in return? About roughly how long for the next step, and you're going to basically write all of that out. And then step number 6, this is really where the application comes in. It's you read out step 5. You read out loud 2 times in the morning and at night before going to bed. That's what he writes here. But I'm going to give you a little tip, a little secret. The more often, the more frequent, the more you do this step right here, the faster your desire is going to increase. And that's because the more you read this out loud, if you go back to the beginning of the video, I had written down that that your hope and wish becomes a desire when it becomes your dominating thought. And here's the thing about this lesson. We're practically wrapping up. I know that before any transformation happens, usually there is a story that we're telling ourselves. There's a dominating thought going about in our minds where, for example, me laying on the couch, my thoughts were not good. Like, I have no energy. I can't even do dishes if I wanted to right now. Like, this is not what I want my life to be like. There's all these negative thinking basically, and this is essentially what I see myself happening. I'm essentially envisioning myself staying there. This right here is going to shift that dominating thought from being fatigued or whatever you're trying to whatever problem you're trying to solve, and it's going to start putting this image in your mind here where you start to see yourself achieving your goal, right? And it starts to happen right here. And the more you read this in the morning, at night, throughout the day, whenever you get a chance, I write it out on my 3x5 card. I wish I had it here with me. It's in my it's downstairs in my work bag. But I have my 3x5 card. I have one actually in my visor in my car. I actually carry, have a couple 3x5 cards here next to me. So every time I have a thought that I want to write out, where it's some sort of desire that I'm trying to increase, in my mind, this is how I do it, and I just read it, and I just know that this is the process that I'm going through. So again, this was practically the summary of chapter 2 of Napoleon Hill's book, Think and Grow Rich. I highly recommend you read that book. I use it for just about every area of my life. I really hope that this video serves you. I really hope that it really impacts your life. So here is the action guide for this video. Write out what you want, right? Be very specific about it. I often ask people, why do you want what you want? And that really oftentimes helps people define and get more specific as to, why do they want, whatever change in their health, whatever business goal they're looking to achieve, right? The reason why is what's going to help you really specify and make it more definite. So write out those 2 things. So basically you're defining what you want. Figure out what is the one thing that you plan on giving in return. What's the one thing that you plan on doing? Is it intermittent fasting in health? Is it maybe your first meal of the day? You just have like that one meal dialed in, and you're not going to change that, or that's, you're just going to make sure that you're good with that one. Whatever that is, what's the one thing that you plan on giving in return? And write out the exercise, and then 3, have it out on a 3x5 card. So if you are part of one of my groups where I'm helping you and mentoring you, I'm going to be asking for your results here, right? And again, the reason why I do that for people is because if I just share this information and I don't get people to take action, it's almost like me seeing someone on a couch that they can't get out of and they want to, and I'm not doing my duty, I guess, of helping them. It's like, hey, put one foot down on the floor. Let's start with that one step, right? So when I ask people to do exercises like this, I'm serious about it for that reason, because I know that that's what needs to be done. So do the exercise and be prepared to show proof that you have done it and completed it before we start moving on to next steps. So this is really what's going to be the game changer for the programs that I have, is actually taking action on the things that I told you to take action on. So anyways, hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you on the next video soon. I'll talk to you later.